What does Matthew 27:23 say? And how does it apply to us? Let's find out. Well, Matthew 27:23 says, "And he said, Why? What wrong has he done?" But they began to shout even louder, saying, Let him be crucified. He is referring to the Roman governor, Pilate. He is the one who would decide if Jesus posed any threat to Roman rule. And he said, Why? What wrong has he done? Now, Pilate is asking the crowd what their logic is for declaring Jesus guilty and deserving that he must be crucified, because this reasoning doesn't make any sense. In a general sense, Pilate wants to know what wrong Jesus has done, whether a moral, ethical, or legal violation of a divine or human law has been committed, that this mob claims that Jesus did. Where is the evidence of such evil? But they began to shout even louder. They refer to the chief priests and elders along with this crowd. Now, the crowd was most likely composed of both local Jerusalem residents and Passover pilgrims, that is, those who are in the city for the Passover celebration. And he said to them, Why? What wrong has he done? But they began to shout even louder. Now, the crowd doesn't just burst out once, it becomes a hostile mob, repeatedly and intensifying shouting for Jesus' crucifixion in an escalating, coercive that pressures Pilate to act without any rational argument. But they began to shout even louder, saying, Let him be crucified. To be crucified means to stick, pin, fix, or fasten to the cross. The verb functions both literally and symbolically. Jesus would die literally by hanging on a cross. Symbolically, Jesus was treated as someone rejected and cursed by God, even though he was innocent. The crowd's verdict declared that Jesus deserved the most shameful and divinely cursed form of execution under Roman law. Well, what is God telling us here in Matthew chapter 27, verse 23? Through this exchange between Pilate and the assembled crowd, God reveals the tragic reality of human judgment divorced from the truth. This scene in Matthew matters to us because it reveals how people can clearly see Jesus' goodness and still reject him when loyalty to comfort, power, or the surrounding crowd feels more compelling. In reflection of Matthew chapter 27, verse 23, consider what false presuppositions you have had about Jesus Christ. And think about how this verse exposes human wisdom as foolish and how God's wisdom shines through the suffering of Jesus. Well, how does Pilate think this judicial procedure is going so far? Let's keep reading the Bible and find out.